Time. We're all dominated by time, one way or another. Michelle laughs at me because I've been programmed to eat at certain times. 8 o'clock breakfast, 12 o'clock lunch, 5 o'clock tea, 9 o'clock supper. That's why I'm overweight, because I have 4 meals a day. And nobody needs that. But never mind. Get back to the subject, David. It's coffee time now, because it's 11 o'clock. That's what time I have my coffee. We should be less dominated by time, but time is there. Time is always ticking away. I suppose we start the process of time, of the countdown clock, right from the moment we're conceived. Our mothers are counting down those 9 months. It's 21 days to delivery date. Then when we get to that moment of birth, we start counting upwards. 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10, teens, 20s, 30s, 40s. Then I suppose when we get to our 60s, we are then counting down to retirement. And in between there are times, maybe we count the days to the next holiday. I know that some people have been counting the days to Friday gone, when they start the summer holidays, whether they are children who've been at school or whether they are teachers and carers who've been working at school. Michelle and I are counting down to when the cadets come, when we'll have more in the team. We've been counting down to having our personal prayer space opening, and that's on Monday. Then there was the countdown for the Olympics in 2012, and before that the countdown to the millennium. And we thought everything might stop with the millennium bug, so we all waited. We waited for the computers to crash. We waited for the lights to go out because the computers that controlled the street lights went off. The traffic lights. Aircraft falling out of the sky. That was doomsday. And then our closest countdown, I suppose, has been to the Brexit. What would happen? What will happen? And all through life, there have been people who've been for that time. Whether they've made a good job or a bad job. Just recently we've seen that it was David Cameron who was Prime Minister when the Brexit vote was given. He lost that, so he resigned. Mrs. May did her best to try and work out a deal, but in the end it was Boris who came forward and thought, it's for this time, it's for such a time as this, that he was the hero to lead the country out of Europe. And then right in the middle of that, the whole world is thrown a curveball. And the world goes into pandemic mode. And what a disaster this period of time has been. I would not like to be a leader of a nation at this time. You can't do wrong for doing right or right for doing wrong. But how do we feel about time? I was going to do this talk down on the Isle of Dogs, where you have that wall with loads of clocks with different time zones on. But I didn't have time for that. So we're talking about time at coffee time. The song that I chose to go along with the reading, Enjoy Yourself, It's Later Than You Think, was just a little bit of an amusing song to go along with the reading, the two readings from Ecclesiastes. And then we put that reading in from the Gospel, where Jesus encounters this disabled, paralysed guy at Bethsaida. This guy had been sitting by that pool for 38 years, waiting for his time. The pool would stir. And it was said that when the pool was stirring, it was a holy moment, a moment when people could be healed, when their lives could be restored. But in 38 years, nobody had thought to help him into the water. Then he encountered Jesus, and Jesus changed his life. Now, we might think that we are just here to kill time, that our whole lives are just ticking away. We're here to work. We're here to keep house, to raise family. We're here just to, well, we're just here. We're not here for anything. But you know, I believe that each one of us is here for a purpose. God doesn't call people for nothing. God doesn't reach out to people for nothing. God sent Jesus to this world to tell of redemption, to tell of life in all its fullness. So what is our purpose? How do we know? Well, Esther in the Old Testament was Queen of Persia. And they come to a point where the Persians persuaded the king that all the Jews, similar to the time of Pharaoh and other times in history, where the Jews were persecuted, where the Jews were, there was that attempt to exterminate the Jews, to exterminate God's people. And Esther didn't know really what to do. Does she keep quiet? Does she try and say something? And she really prayed. She really sought God on this subject. And the answer came back. It is for this time that you were created. It's for this time that you are here. Your purpose is to save your people. Your purpose is to speak up. Your purpose is to be my person on the ground right now. You might think that there is nothing for you to do. You might think that that you have no purpose, that God has no purpose for your life. You know that God loves you. You know that you are in relationship with God. But you have no purpose. God doesn't call you to have no purpose. So how do you discover what your purpose is? It's a simple answer. And Paul takes us to that answer in Romans 12, verses 1 and 2. The Message translation has it offer your whole self, your everyday self. You're going to work, you're getting up, going to work, walking around self. Place that before God. This is your act of true worship. 2, allow God to do the changing. To allow God, by his Spirit, to work within us. To renew our mind. It's amazing, really, that word, renew our mind. Help us to think as God thinks. Help us to see as God sees. Help us to see ourselves in the light of God's love, in the light of God's purpose. And then it says in that verse, then you will know what is good, what is perfect, what is the will of God. And you will know what you need to do. So in those 2 verses in Romans, you find the answer to what we need to be the person of this time. For such a time as this, you were born. What is your purpose? Find out by offering your whole lives to God. Being a living sacrifice, allowing God to change, to refine, to empower, and to show you his will. Father, thank you for making me who you want me to be. Help me to allow you to guide me, to empower me, to direct me, to fulfill the purpose you have for my life. For such a time as this, you have appointed me.